Welcome back to my lovely IHP community and the 5D collective. So 5D are authentic self, lovely people who have owned their own divine feminine. So you own your embodied brain. Your heart is open to that lovely forgiveness. 5D stands for Christ consciousness, oneness consciousness. It's integration of the brain. Avatar consciousness, that's how I use it as a 5D mystic here in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. So you will know if you are open to self-help, mindfulness, and spirituality, the 5D mystic way, if you are free to be yourself and to co-create with spirit, or the secular verbiage is basically that the pillars of mindfulness, and mind sight is from Dr. Daniel Siegel. So mind sight involves where you are also sifting through your own body, emotions, sensations, all that comes up, which is very accessible to the 5D collective because we co-create with ourselves in an integrated brain. So you're able to not have a lost compass. You have the securely attached capacity. Self-awareness, accountability, and regulation comes with a whole self who's attuning to their self with mindfulness. And you also have emotional awareness, but you also have effective communication in the forefront with healthy self-worth. So functional adult, inner child adult, your integrity is that you speak your truth authentically, vulnerably, and you respect differences. So if you have in front of you a facade, you're not going to be in the modulated or dysregulated embodiment. You're going to allow yourself to continue with the integrity that you learned. I learned it from my faith, so with lovely Jesus and God, and some will have learned it from an all-encompassing hand of Source, Universe, Akash, Essence of Love and Life is also another way. And I surge on the uprising wave of love. Love is also the way, because your ventral vagal state, it's when you have secure attachment and you're in an integrated brain. So with faith or without it, you are able to do mindfully living stuff and loving because you have emotional awareness but also resiliency. And you don't have emotional triggers or any of that which are buttons that you would be unaware of attuning to. Okay, so you being in the 5D collective that we do here, at least at IHP, is the right use of power. It means not that I'm going to have boxing gloves. No, I'm going to have my ventral vagal state. I'm going to have fun hugging and talking. And when we have any of what others will say is misunderstandings, we're going to not have a misunderstanding splinter in the way of us being sensitive egos. That's the distorted facades who don't go and get their inner child back online and owned. We are going to be playful. And so when we say we forgive, we don't do that forgiveness business in the way of I forgave. Okay, so we're going to have some story about sharing fears and concerns with a healthy other, well, with an unhealthy other, with the facade is what I'm going to, so that you can understand when I'm presented with the people who are not in the 5D frequency, that I've known how to continue to move into generosity. That's because for me, with Jesus and God, I got the ground rules, if you will, but they weren't rules in a way of, I'm afraid if I don't do it, I'm going to get punished. No, I actually met people who are facades that they did favors, they did niceties because their church told them to. Now, I, from the heart, know the difference of what it is to have the capacity to do an open-hearted interaction, okay? So my heart stays open, it goes through its transformation, and I continue to speak authentic truth because I'm continuing to be who I am, and so emotions are not hard, and thoughts are not hard, and having misunderstandings, it's not misunderstandings. I get to be Maria, so I know who I am. You get to be you, and then I can also know that if you're moody and if something's going on, that I'm going to be able to continue to tell you that, okay? So people who share fears, concerns with a healthy other and are healthy others, we don't back down from the equanimous stance, so the authentic self. And the divine feminine knows how to do this. That's why when I said the true divine feminine, she consistently is loving and a nurturer. It's because she is like the true divine masculine once he gets to this spot. Okay, so you'll know of those embodied masculines and feminines, twin flames or not, when they are people who can speak the truth without a heart that needs to have a shield, but instead with a growing generosity, because we're all imperfect and flawed. So again, we can make use, of course, of interactions, but if a person doesn't choose to go and become the healthy version of their self, okay, they will choose to stay in the unkind business of their own adaptive child, maladaptive child pattern of behavior. So what you will find with facades are that they tend to have gossiping situations with sense of shame, guilt, blame, fault, revenge. And in fact, the rejection, abandonment, injustice, shame wounds are all over the place. And their confusion is an indication of them needing a person like Patrick Tiahan, childhood trauma survivor, healed and healing, who talks to us always about the capacity for him to continue his journey of healing, thanks to him having a community, thanks to him taking his inner child seriously by the hand and reparenting himself, and then working through the emotional pain and getting that pain back online. So all the emotions moving out of perfectionism. The adaptive child part is perfection, unforgiving. They have a superhero, supervillain, and then that saving business victim story. Some, well, we know the vanity that can come from a distorted ego, but the reality is it's not a devil, demon, or Lucifer. It's all insecurity. And if they don't get out of the dysregulated, modulated embodiment, they dissipate, because their embodied brain, they are functioning on what is a survival, fight, flight mode, attach, cry, collapse, submit, please, appease. Their self is still scanning self and other based on a teenager version of themselves. That's the last charge state that we all have. We all have child parts according to the attachment trauma educators that I learned from. So their divine masculine is distorted. They don't have sacred union with their own divine feminine, not what we talk about here. So whatever clairs they may have or may not have, they're not going to be for the feminines using them in a way that brings more love, but instead it has fears, it has suffering, that human suffering love narrative. It has one lion, one deer, and they don't learn to be both in the way of a Simba lion, okay? And so the dissolving of the light, here's where expert yogis, as Sadhguru has shared with me in his different, he speaks in a lot of different occasions, and he says expert yogis, no, we come from darkness, return to darkness. The light part is something that gets you to begin a journey. And then as you embody the wholeness of you, that solar plexus, your third eye, your throat chakra, all of that, the heart chakra, so you get to keep expanding the lovely lion spirit and the deer, but you get to have that fun like this lovely seahorse. And with that being said, welcome to anybody who's new. I like to share, show and tell with my lovely cards. Also, they're part of our messages as we've had a lovely solar eclipse and new moon, and the energies are still about as we settle into the new expanded version of ourselves. And that's for all of those who are grateful for the opportunity to expand themselves and to recover the keys to their destiny, as they've chosen to know that their fate is in their hands and destiny, thanks to integration, again, of the brain, a whole self. So instinctively, you know that you have perception, and yours is a subjective one, like mine is, and based on our past and our present, okay? So we get to talk together when we cross each other's paths and share a decisive moment. What kind of soul contract do we have going on? And when we can have equanimity, that's when you're going to have the inner growth opportunity and a healthy self-worth, interaction, and enlightenment. And so you're going to have a good time with people who persevere and expand their consciousness in a joyous way. When they get to have impatience, they get to either pray, or in that mindfulness way, you get to sit with yourself and figure out what's going on. You continue to have your adolescent brain. That's the essence. So your essential spark, social engagement, heart-to-heart relationships, novelty, and creative expression. These are words from Dr. Daniel Siegel, as he explains in my course, one of them, if not all of them, but in interpersonal neurobiology, I get all these nice acronyms that I get to use. And then in my course, disorganized attachment category, not style, and dissociative identity disorder, and also my course, consciousness and change. So when you maintain integration and you move into more of it, and you're a restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating person, whether you're a 5D mystic, or again, I'm just using words for our community, or a 5D mindfully living and loving person, you're going to grow more passionate by the minute. And your service is not to someone in a way of I'm saving, I'm supporting the human herd, I'm playing my part. We all have weaknesses and strengths, so we can share that abundance. We don't have fear of losing anything, and that's your higher self. So you're an emotionally, mentally, and physically intelligent master of your human name, and you overflow with humanity. So you don't have child parts that are charged. You have forgiveness, and that's who's ready for content at IHP and one-to-one mentorship and the masterclass. Because if you're not ready to do this, and you're weighed down by the world, and you're waiting for a miracle, or you're hoping in a miracle in a very specific way, that's one where 3D, 4D is at, and their creation of content and their stories are for those people who want that. But I'm going to say that this is, Patrick Tiahan is your best solution, because you want to reclaim all those child parts. And then when you're ready to be the emotional, mental, physically mature person with others, that's when the healthy others come into the mix. And you will want those who are authentically their self. They turn knowledge into wisdom and wisdom into knowledge. They can sit mindfully and spiritually within their own self as a differentiated self, and independently with Christ consciousness, again, forgiveness and wholeness in the forefront, exchange interactions. So in these conversations, when you share your fears or concerns, healthy self-worth person, they won't be using it against you. When you meet a person who does not have emotional resiliency, they don't have emotional awareness, they don't do mindfulness, they don't do spirituality, they don't do effective communication from a functional adult social engagement ventral vagal state. Okay, so when you don't meet a healthy other, you're going to know. And they will use whatever you will have shared with them in a way that isn't really going to be wow. But it won't be something that requires the word devil, evil, demon. No, because it's actively a human being who is a facade due to the fact that they don't know their emotional pain body, their adaptive child part, their victim, blame, martyr, superior, so the low self-esteem, all of that. They didn't learn how to self-regulate. They are not looking to their ego, the distortion of the stories, and to their insecurity, and to their ancient ways. And so again, it's not something that will leave you like shocked, but obviously it's something that for me it's not shocking, because of accepting that some individuals will consistently, even though we have all of the good trauma therapists out there, they will consistently like to use stories like, you have to become a bad person to enlighten, to become magnetic, to become somebody who is. This is a story that serves for people who are not taking the self seriously. You're magnetic in general. Obviously, you're magnetic for a 5D person when you're enlightening, not when you are a bad person. But again, the figure of speech works for the people who need that. Okay, so they need to hear that, because those people don't know how to look to their self and say, you know what, this is my teenage part. So this attitude that I have is me still working through my child parts, and I'm doing it in a way that is using a story to give myself a boost. And so again, the way that you are understanding any message, to me, the story tells me that you are not having a personal experience with your life, which is why you're magnetic, in my personal opinion, when you are embodying your human name and your emotional, mental, and physical complete depth. When you are telling me that you need to become a bad person to be attractive or to be somebody who's empowered, no, you're meaning you don't yet know how to work your nervous system and your embodied brain to allow yourself to sit and say, I don't owe someone anything. And that's why the therapists are ideal for that, because what that is structurally not necessarily dissociative, but it's a adaptive child part, like Terry Real would call it. It's a person who's not in the interaction because they want to expand. They don't have the ownership of their self yet. So their adaptive child part is still looking to have what it is that they didn't get from home. So it's a nervous system that's still not in its ventral vagal state. It's a body that's still not restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating. And that's why there's a difference for those of you who will resonate with 5D and the material here versus something like that. You want a story to feel that you are going to be strong. It's the box and gloves people. If you want the reality of when you share fears and concerns with people who are going to be Cusco, Pacha and Cusco from the Emperor's New Groove, apply that. It's not funny. And you don't become a bad person because of a Cusco. Pacha stays Pacha. It's something called healthy self-worth people that have Christ consciousness, because again, there's a heart inside of you that says this is a person. They have feelings. I know they do, because there's not a demon. There's no monster. It's a human being. Whatever the reasoning is behind what they've done, it's not my business. And now, again, we have the information. So the capacity to be not charged, it's because if they didn't do anything wrong, not to me, they didn't physically hurt me. Emotionally, they didn't hit me because I'm a healthy, self-worth, empowered person. I'm a healthy person. My nervous system and my ego is not distorting Maria's version because somebody will have done. I know the right use of my power, my words. I maintain authenticity. I chose to be open-hearted because I want to, not because I have to. I want to forgive. I want to feel free. Here, it feels really good to embody pure consciousness again and again and again and again and again. I have the bonus of faith. Some don't. I feel bad for them because definitely I can say that my relationship is more and more amazing, with integrity, with being able to speak the truth, with having a heart that's open. And generosity is not something I say involves anything except for a conscious choice of being a decent human being who knows how to be herself and knows that emotions aren't hard, and misunderstandings, there's not a misunderstanding. It's we can agree to disagree, and your mannerisms might not be ideal, but it's okay because I'm not your mother. I'm not going to lecture you, and I'm not your therapist. And there you go. So people who still want to blame Lucifer demons and use bad and good, again, it's a story, and it only fulfills the same people who want a story because they're not ready to go to a person that will tell them how it is, like a Patrick Tiahan, which, by the way, is not boring. Embodying the wholeness of you is going to be the most amazing of experiences that you will ever have if you do it. Obviously, if you're there, then you know what I'm talking about, which is why I look forward to seeing you back again, and we'll be here with more. Thanks for stopping by.